The Polygon Colossus N9 is an amazing enduro bike, but this bike has one major flaw that's holding it back. And I want to see how much I can improve this bike by changing just one thing, that heavy weight. But more specifically, that unsprung and rotational weight. So in today's video, we're gonna be swapping out these heavy entry-level wheels with these massive 2.6-inch super gravity casing tires and this Dior cassette back here for a set of high-end Industry 9 wheels that I'm throwing my very favorite set of Pirelli Scorpion tires on, a nice lightweight Garbarute cassette, and a couple other upgrades, all with a total sticker price of over $2,000 to see how much this upgrade actually changes the experience of the ride and ultimately find out if it was worth it. And this bike is perfect for this experiment. The Polygon Colossus N9 is an amazing enduro bike, but I do happen to know that these tires are holding this bike back. The biggest factor being that they're heavy, and that's unsprung and rotational weight. Pair that with these super grippy tires that just have way too much traction, and that means that this bike is not only harder to get up to speed, but at times it can be harder to slow down. And that unsprung weight also affects the suspension performance. So changing these things out should definitely have a huge impact on the way this bike rides. But let's start by taking this bike on a quick ride to see how this thing is performing in its current state. All right, let's get it. Whew, looks like it's gonna be a hero dirt day. Nice little bit of rain last night. Got this dirt looking beautiful, but even that isn't gonna save the performance of these wheels and tires. Oh, let's go ahead and start the Strava on this. Be somewhat scientific about this ride. We'll see how much slower these are, and then we'll record it again once we upgrade the wheels. Immediately, as you're pedaling this bike, you can just feel how slow it wants to climb. Now, if this was your only bike, you definitely get used to the way it rides. And if you didn't want to spend $2,000, maybe you could just swap out the tires on this bike alone, because these things are definitely slowing me down. All right, coming up to the turnaround point. It's Speed King Trail right here. So let's go ahead, get this Strava set to pause. Wait till I get right here to the same stopping point that I'll use for both laps. That little pine tree, and stop. All right, so that was just like a 1.76 miles, average speed of about 5.39 miles per hour. Took me a total of 19 minutes, 41 seconds. So we'll store those numbers away and then compare that after I do the upgrades on this bike. But like I was talking about, I definitely could feel how slow that speed was. Man, this wind is blaring. So we'll just go ahead and start bombing downhill. I'm gonna find some berms, find some jumps. I'll be keeping track of it on Strava, the overall speed. I'll try and find some rocky technical sections to blast through, and then I'm gonna do the same line again later on after those upgrades to try and throw just a little bit of scientific data in there on how these things are actually performing versus how I feel. That seat post down, get into a party gear. All right, and get right up here to this rock, start the Strava time, get to pedaling. Woo, man, this dirt is amazing today. Oh, trees down. Dang it. Not gonna be moving that right now. Sorry, trail folks. So this could affect the numbers a little bit, but I'll do my best to just take that same line on my feet through the trees. Whew. All right, now I gotta get these heavy wheels back up to speed. Whew. Oh, came up a little bit short. Trying my best to keep a decent speed up. Never know. Whew. Might be able to be just as fast on these slow ass tires. Oh man, you can just feel when you're coming out of those corners and when you're just trying to push the bike around, you can feel all that extra weight on there. And this is what I feel when I ride this bike in its current setup. I just feel like it is just slow, heavy. It's kind of not as easy to maneuver as I would like it to be. And right back down to the starting point at the Southridge Trail sign. Woo! 24 minutes, 38 seconds total. All right, we'll save those. Finish that one out, save that activity. We'll call that one budget mountain bike wheel ride. Done. And now that we have our baseline, let's go ahead and swap this setup out for some hopefully game-changing results. And we're gonna be upgrading to the all-new Enduro 300 wheel set from Industry 9. This thing has 30mm internal width. They've beefed up the edges of the rim right here to avoid pinch flat. This is an aluminum wheel, aluminum rim, so it's not the most expensive one I could get, but it's got these, patent aluminum spokes that thread directly into this Hydra hub right here, which should add some stiffness to this overall wheel set, and it's got that Hydra hub engagement that everybody raves about. We'll be pairing that up with this Garbarook cassette, solid aluminum cassette, which is going to be a big upgrade and additional weight savings from that steel Dior cassette. Also, because this is one solid piece, we're not going to have to deal with all those individual cogs that can be an absolute pain to get lined up and mounted when you're installing the Shimano Dior cassette. .45 Newton meters. And the wheels that came on this Polygon N9 have these center lock rotors right here. And since I'm switching over to a set of 6-bolt rotors for my new Industry 9 wheels, I figured I may as well upgrade the rotors that come on this bike. So I'm throwing these SRAM HS2 200mm rotors front and back, which might increase the weight just a tiny bit. But let's get all this put together and we'll see how much the old setup weighs versus this new wheel setup. And I'm mounting these wheels up with my very favorite set of Pirelli Scorpion tires. I got this mixed compound tire that I run in the front with this nice beefy tread, but I've got this rear specific tire I'm gonna be throwing in the rear. It's got that nice fast rolling tread. These are the tires I took off my dream bike that I had to get rid of. Some people stretch it over right here. Set of Pedro tire levers. My favorite tool to get the job done. And then the only thing I'm gonna be swapping out on these new wheels is it came with these cheap little valve caps right here, and the ones I like are these Trail 1 valve stems that have these caps that you can go ahead and remove the valve core with. Love that. Do you think it's wrong that I'm putting Bontrager tubeless tire sealant in a non-Trek bike? There we go. Get on there, little guy. Pop, 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 come on. I know some of you guys are thinking, dude, you got an air compressor. Why are you using that pump? Old habits die hard. but just how much weight am I actually saving here? Let's go ahead, get these stock wheels off the bike, throw them on the scale, and find out. These stock wheels are coming in with a total combined weight of 14 pounds, 7 ounces, or 6.5 kilograms. Damn, that's a heavy wheel. Compare that to the new wheel set that comes in with a weight of, calm down there scale, I wasn't ready to weigh yet. All right, let's try and get this on here now. Good God, man, you can already feel how much lighter these things are in your hand. Oh, come on, line it up. 10 pounds, 10 ounces, or 4.77 kilograms. So that's like a 4-pound difference in wheel weight. And a lot of people say that wheel weight, because it's that unsprung and rotational weight that I've been talking about, there's actually like a multiple of 3, meaning that 3 pounds on the wheels would be like 9 pounds anywhere else on the bike. So this is probably gonna make a huge difference when I go out and ride. But the only way to find out is get these new wheels mounted up and get back out there on the trail. But real quick, before we take this bike on a ride, we gotta look at it. Man, that thing looks amazing. Now, I've done carbon versus alloy wheel tests in the past, but I'm not quite sure that this is gonna give me the exact same results. And in fact, I'm at least just a little bit nervous that I just wasted my money and my time doing this upgrade. Now, the only way to tell for sure is to take this bike out on a ride, but I'm not quite sure how this is gonna go down. Oh, gotta shift into the right gear. Let's try that again. Ooh, Garbarook is shifting. Like the way it sounds. Like the way it looks. Bike is still shifting good. All right, those are all good first signs. Oh man. You gotta be kidding me. All right, I know the sound of the highway right there is freaking annoying, but I gotta tell you guys, you can immediately feel the difference in just how quickly this bike accelerates. And I know part of that is due to the fact that I got that rear specific tire in the back there, but man, you can feel just like the handling as well, like the weight, overall weight, you can just immediately feel that impact on the way this bike is climbing. Same exact spot. Let's go ahead, start the Strava times, recording, phone back in the pocket, and let's get to climbing. All right, coming back to that spot where we're gonna turn around and head downhill, getting the Strava out. There goes the pine tree, this thing up, riding one-handed, folks, and stop, there it goes. All right, so 1.78 miles, average speed of 6.13 miles per hour, took me 17 minutes and 30 seconds. Not quite sure, I don't remember exactly what that last lap is, but we'll look at all the Strava times towards the end of this video. I will say that I could immediately feel a difference. This rear specific tire with that faster rolling tread was not holding me back. Didn't feel like my brakes were dragging the way that it did on the stock setup. The Garbarook cassette, that thing, man, I'm gonna have to do a video of that cassette right there on its own, because that thing was shifting great. Mainly threw that on there to reduce weight, and the overall weight reduction, you could just immediately feel the difference in the way the bike was handling, the way the bike felt on the trail, the way the bike accelerated. When you hit any rocky sections where it's catching you up, it felt like the bike was easier to propel forward throughout those. As you were climbing in those more difficult sections where you would usually be shifting into that biggest cog right there, or that lowest, easiest gear, I felt myself staying in like a gear or two down, and even downshifting into a harder gear at times on the climb when I wasn't able to before. And that's all due to this bike just being that much lighter, that rotational weight being that much lighter, that grip of the tire, that rolling resistance not fighting me the whole way up the trail. But now it's time to throw this chesty back on, head back down, and see how this thing is going downhill, because I was pretty impressed with how fast I made it down the hill on this bike in stock configuration. I'm on Strava, let's go. Camera locked in right at that same pole, getting ready to start the lap the same way we did last time. Strava is going to resume in the pocket, and let's get it. That sound, that freewheel, haha. Feeling faster, I can tell you that. This down tree right here. Woo! Gotta get that thing cut out of the trail. Easier to pedal and get back up to speed, I'll tell you that much. All right, back down to the stop. Test Strava out and stop. All right, we will check the Strava times here in just a second. But all of my doubts are erased. And in fact, I am now convinced that upgrading your wheels like this is one of the best upgrades you can possibly do for your mountain bike. Is it expensive? Yes. But was it worth it? Let's check the Strava real quick. We'll go over those numbers, what you guys think about it, and then I'll give you my final verdict. So we got the budget mountain bike ride right here first. 3.17 miles, 468 feet. Remember, this is just a short little course I was doing, and a total elapsed time of 24 minutes, 38 seconds on there. Now let's look at the high-end mountain bike wheels. 22 minutes, 5 seconds. So that's just 2 minutes. But keep in mind, that's over a short distance. Now imagine that multiplied over a longer distance, over an entire day's worth of riding, over multiple days worth of riding, over the entire life of this bike right here. So do I think it was worth it? Is an upgrade like this absolutely necessary? Of course not. You can ride this bike in complete stock form and still have a ton of fun without ever spending this much money on an upgrade. But you guys, I have to be completely honest with you. I now believe upgrading your wheels like this is one of the most impactful upgrades you can possibly do to a bike. I could immediately feel the difference in the way this bike handled, the way this bike rode, the way it was climbing on the way uphill. When I was bombing downhill just now, I was overshooting jumps. I was snapping around corners like I never have before. It made me feel way more confident. I could feel this bike now pushing me to want to ride more, ride faster, push my limits. And for me, that makes this upgrade completely worth it. But for you, you just have to decide what you want out of a bike. And if you're interested in hearing more about this Polygon N9 right here, subscribe to the channel, because I got a couple more upgrades I'm gonna do, and definitely watch that video right there, because this bike is on sale right now.